Hey everybody, back with another chapter of SKYLARK. This is chapter 9. I hope you're enjoying these. The next day after the party, after the music and dancing, Matthew and Maggie's well went dry. They drove their wagon to our house to say goodbye. Clothes. Rose and Violet sat in the back. The baby sat on Maggie's lap. "I'm sorry to be leaving you, Jacob," said Matthew. "It's all right, Matthew. I know," said Papa. "I'll miss you, Sarah," said to Maggie. Her face was tight to keep all her feelings from coming out. She reached out to touch the baby's hand. "We'll be back," said Maggie, and tears came down her face. "We'll be back," she repeated. The baby began to cry as the wagon drove out of the yard. When Sarah turned to look at Papa, tears sat at the corners of her eyes. "They'll be back," said Papa. He watched the cloud of dust that followed Matthew's wagon down the road. His eyes narrowed against the sunlight. That night, I dreamed about roses and green fields and waters. A glass of water on the fence post and ponds of water to swim in. Caleb spitting streams of water into the air. Sarah laughing and splashing us with water. But a sharp clap of thunder woke me. Lottie and Nick barked as lightning lit up the sky. I turned over in bed, but then Papa's voice from downstairs made me sit up. "Sarah! Sarah! It's fire!" I got up and rushed to the window, and there was fire in the field close to the barn. Flames creeping up the fence, flames near the corral. I ran downstairs and out to the porch, Caleb behind me. Sarah was running, carrying wet sacks, her hair down her back. Sarah and Papa beat the flames around the corral. Then Papa stopped to let the frightened horses out. "Get the cows!" he shouted to Sarah. Sarah ran to the barn and pulled the cows outside. "Shoo! Shoo!" she cried. Caleb ran down to get Moonbeam. "Get on the porch and stay there," Sarah shouted at him as he led Moonbeam away. I put my arm around Caleb. I could feel him trembling. Sarah screamed as some hay caught fire and the side of the barn burst into flame. "Buckets!" shouted Papa. "Get buckets of water! Buckets!" Sarah ran to the barrel filled a bucket, running back to him as the fire grew. Papa grabbed it, and then Sarah stopped him. I couldn't hear what she said, but I knew what it was. It was the last barrel. Papa stopped then and stared at the barn as flames caught the dry wood and then the roof. Sparks flew everywhere. And then part of the roof fell, and Papa and Sarah just moved back. Sarah put her arm around Papa as the barn burned. They saw him. Papa turned once to look away from the fire, and I couldn't see his eyes shining red from the fire. I had never seen Papa's face so sad. The sun came up in the morning the way it always does, but everything had changed. The barn was gone, only a few blackened timbers standing. The cows walked the yard, the sheep in the cornfield looking for green grass. I stood at my window and watched Sarah and Papa talking by the clothesline. I saw her shake her head no. I saw Papa take her hand. She shook her head again. Then Papa put his arms around her. I knew we would have to go away. They told us at dinner time. "Maine?" said Caleb. "Are you coming too, Papa?" Papa shook his head and looked at Sarah. "I have to stay here," he said softly. "I can't go away from the land." "Can Seal and the dogs come?" Caleb asked. Papa shook his head. "They'll be happier here," he said. "I'll take care of them." "What will you do while we're gone?" asked Caleb. "I'll miss you," Papa said softly, reaching out to take Caleb's hand. He looked at me then, and as if he knew I would cry if I spoke, He took my hand too. "What will happen to us?" I asked after a moment.